Games. I live in LHENA, and our offices are are basically as close to LHENA as you can get without being in LHENA. We're just on 22nd and DuPont, and we make educational video games and apps focused on closing the math gap. We currently have the Growing Math Project, which is free right now for pretty much any school in the state of Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oregon, New Mexico, and Arizona. It's federally funded thanks to USDA, through which we're able to make it free to educators. And we also have individual games and apps if you're a parent and just want to feel less guilty about the time your kid spends on a device. Mine's outside the door right now on one. We have that as well. But one of the goals of our company and why we were so happy to sponsor this session with Charles tonight is that we look at the changes that we are capable of making to better the world around us, right? We built 7th Generation Games because we knew the math gap, especially for kids in communities that we're deeply entrenched in, economically disadvantaged urban areas, rural areas, indigenous and Latino communities, are places where youth are being overlooked and underserved. And we knew we couldn't just accept that. And we couldn't just say, this is a really hard problem to solve if only someone would do something about that. Because if we just shrug things off and leave it for someone else, that wasn't going to work for us either. And so we took the skills that we knew what we had and we put them to work to do what we knew we could to better serve youth in our communities through improving foundational math education to give kids a better shot at a better future. And I'm really excited to hear Charles speak. I had the chance to meet him a few weeks ago and see the incredible work he and Brothers Empowered are doing, as well as to hear him speak a little while back at the LHENA Public Safety Forum last year. And I know he's driven by the same goals, and that at a time in Minneapolis, in our city, in our neighborhood, where there's a lot of work to be done, he's out there working to solve really hard societal problems that a lot of people look at and just think that's too tough, you know, but he's a driving force in creating that positive change and make that difference. So I'm glad 7th Generation Games is able to bring this important conversation to you all tonight. And thank you so much, Eric and Charles. I look forward to hearing from you more. Thanks.
Thank you, Maria. And thank you, Charles, for being here. You know, as the founder of Brothers Empowered, Charles started this community mentorship organization in 2014 to help equip men of color, to give them the tools they need to overcome the barriers in their lives and the lives in their community. Now they've grown and now work with youth starting at the age of 9 to provide life coaching, mentorship, healing and restoration, business training, community peacekeeping, and community outreach. They started a youth social enterprise program that created a business called Honor Roll Athletics. Charles is going to talk about. They just launched their first retail store, Northtown Mall, earlier this month. And they're doing really great things in the community. Charles is doing really great things in the community. We first became connected with Charles last year for a public safety forum we did. And we started a youth grant program a few months after that to raise money to support the work Charles is doing with Brothers Empowered. I'm happy to report that today we reached our target goal of $5,000 we set for that fundraiser, which was great. I want to thank everyone who contributed money to that fundraiser. That money has already been put to good use. Half of it has gone to help pay for the rent of the retail store at Northtown Mall for Honor Roll Athletics. And the other half, some of it is going to pay to some of the youth workers. So that money is already being put to good use. Charles can talk more about that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Charles and just let him, tell him about his story and the great work he's doing in the community.
All right. Thanks for having me. First and foremost, glad to be, on this conversation, on this call with you all. Quick question. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. For some reason, my charger to my earpiece, I misplaced it today when I knew, it's just crazy situation on a day like this. I misplaced the charger to my earpiece, but that ain't gonna stop nothing. Overcoming adversity and challenges, losing that earpiece today reminded me of that, which is basically my story, just overcoming challenges and adversity through these years of my life. So I grew up, I have a Brooklyn black background, Brooklyn, New York background. Grew up, graduated high school in North Minneapolis. So I've seen a lot of things in the streets, been connected with a lot of street activities, a lot of friends, grew up in the streets, was a part of, my own clique and crew, and, affiliated with gangs and things of that nature. Was a stick-up kid, sold weed, and anything else I was able to find while I was sticking up drug dealers. I was sticking up old ladies. I was sticking up hustlers and drug dealers. So, if I get my hands on anything, guns, crack, whatever, I sold it. But I realized, as I became older, that really wasn't it wasn't the direction I wanted to go in my life. It really wasn't me. And the reason why I say that is because I had a mentor and I had somebody I didn't want to disappoint. So I had to make sure that whatever I did, I had a cover up for the cover up for the cover up. So I was living a double life as young, because I didn't want, what I'm saying, these two, positive figures, male role models, my grandfather and another community leader that spent some time with me and invested in my life. Didn't want them to know what I was doing. Didn't want them to know I was smoking weed and, selling weed and, sticking up cats and skipping school to do this, all through my lunch break and etc. So it just got tiring. And I just made a choice, like, this is not what I want in my life. I know my life is worth so much more. I know where this is going to end me, either locked up or in jail. So I made the decision to change the course of my life young. And I credit that to having those key men in my life that spoke in my life that I did not want to disappoint. Just having them to be, a good role model, and give me some sense of purpose and direction, caused me to make the sound decision to change the course of my life. And I think that's very key and important when it comes to the youth. So my work today, I'm a reflection of, mentorship. I'm a reflection of, having a male figure in my life. I grew up in a single parent home. I did not have a father. So, my grandfather was like a father to me. And he installed a lot of great principle in my life. And he was a major impact in my life. And he was somebody that I did not want to disappoint. But then I had a younger, male who could relate more to my generation, that took some time, that worked at the after school center in my housing unit, that, took me out to get a burger, just to, hang out, took me to check out colleges, even though I wasn't even interested in colleges at that time. He just took me out and we just got out the neighborhood and we went to different areas, different schools, had a burger, and I just watched him and, his lifestyle and what he was doing. So that's what influenced me to do what I do now, because I'm a product of mentorship. And I know from living, from being a product, that it works. And I know the things that interest me, because I was very bad. I graduated from North High School. I used to go to school with a pistol. I used to go to school with Hennessy in my Coca-Cola bottle. I used to smoke weed in the locker room, in the bathroom. They used to shut it down because of me. We left school to go across town to rob people and take their weed. That was a sport for us. We went in 2-3 different cars, and whoever can come back with the most weed won. You take big bank, take little bank. And at that time, everybody was selling weed, and they just, when you drive up to them, they just pull out everything they had for you to pick them. And we just take them. We head back on the north side. We do it over in the south side and head back on the north side and meet up at the park and just blow our brains out getting high. This was our activity as young men. But what I was looking for in these young men that I hung out with is a family. It's something to belong to. I didn't have that. I didn't have a sense of belonging. And I didn't have a sense of identity. So I wanted to be like the guys that I saw in the neighborhood. You know, the ones that was the drug dealers and the hustlers and the pimps, the one that got the fancy cars and, you know, the new sneakers every time, and, you know, just with the gold chains, and those was our idols. Those who we idolized. We didn't know no better that, you know, these guys are just going to end up dead or in jail. That didn't matter to us. You know, that was what we wanted to be like. So we found a brotherhood within, you know, the guys that I hung out with. I didn't have brothers. I didn't have brothers. I have brothers, but I didn't grow up with brothers. So, you know, that was a form of, you know, having a family. You know, my family was big, but we was divided. We wasn't as connected. So this was a connected family, a brotherhood that I can have, that I know they got my back and I got their back. And that's why I did some of the things that I did. It was for, you know, for my brotherhood, or what I thought was a brotherhood, you know, even though we were doing things that was wrong. But as I said, you know, just having people in my life that I didn't want to disappoint, it caused me to change the narrative of my life. And in so doing that, I started my journey as a young man into self-improvement and self-development. That journey started at 19. It was derailed, and I got back involved in, you know, the streets activity. But then when I became a father, that's when I made a set decision that I wasn't going back to, you know, to the streets. And that's where Brothers in Power was birthed. It started first from me being a single father, to me wanting to be the best dad I could be, to then, you know, wanting to help other men be the best dad they could be, and to help other men overcome the barriers that I was overcoming in my life, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, because this thing is a deep thing. It's a lot of trauma that I knew I was dealing with, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of disappointment, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment. And once, you know, I was able to, you know, with God's help, uh, understand what I was going through and find the solutions and find people in my life that could speak to that, I wanted to do the same thing too. And being that I came from a mentorship background, you know, it was just natural. It was just natural. And I just knew that was my calling in life.
Hey, Charles, can you talk a little bit about Honors Roll Athletic and just how the youth social enterprise program that you started with, you know, Junior Brothers Empowered, and how that's impacting the youth, and how that whole program works?
Well, you know, well, Brother Honor Athletic is an extension of Brothers Empowered. It's a part of our youth social enterprise. Brothers Empowered, where, you know, we focus on life skills training, youth empowerment, and community outreach. So under our life skills training, where we have support groups for adult males, just to help us overcome some of the barriers and challenges, and some of the in really like a healing group where, you know, men can come and talk about their challenges and find solutions. Then we have our youth empowerment, which is our group community mentorship program. And then we do our youth empowerment groups and training. And then we have our youth empowerment workshops, and then the youth social enterprise. And then we do outreach, our community engagement, and our peacekeeping that we do for the community. So under youth empowerment, we have our youth social enterprise, which is a program that our youth that we are mentoring, we started and developed this business to teach them how to run and manage a business, create job opportunities for them, and also to fundraise for what we do for the community. So we wanted to create a way to keep serving the community. And there's always funding issues. So we wanted to find a way that we can, you know, generate funds and, you know, and a funding stream ourselves, so we can continue doing the work that we're doing for the community and for the youth. And in the same token, teach them a skill. because one of the things that we discovered with, working with young people is you got to capitalize on every moment to teach, to mentor, to sow a seed. It could be a subtle seed. It doesn't have to be a smack in your face, but every moment you have to have the skill and the knowledge to know how to capitalize on this, to teach a skill. And so we wanted to implement that too. So that where our youth social enterprise honor roll athletics came about. Most of our boys, first we started with a vending machines. We was thinking about a vending machine business. And that worked at first, but the boys was more interested in eating the candy than actually running the candy business. So we had to think about like what I sat and I thought, and we had to think. I brought some of the boys together. I said, like, what would interest them? What would interest them about, this? What would interest them? And, most of them are student athletes. So it just was a good marriage to just create honor roll athletics, because most of the boys we're mentoring are student athletes, or they like athletics, watching games or whatever. So, or they're involved with some type of athletics, and all of them are students. So we came up with honor roll athletics, and it became more than just clothing line. It became a movement, to just, young people are into fashion, and we want the honor roll athletics to speak to the, being a better you, being the best you, and using fashion is a billboard to promote that and to promote academic excellence, and in the same token, teaching them a skill, how to run and manage a business, and create job opportunities for them and fundraise for what we do for the community. So we're killing 3 birds in 1 stone. I'm really excited about honor roll athletics. The boys are extremely, other than girls, when we were building this concept, this was the most excitement I have ever seen in them, other than girls. So, and we spent a lot of time together. So they were extremely excited. We started this concept 2 years ago. So they've been able to see through the journey of it being realistic. And this is one of the shirts right now that I have on. So it being realistic, and we was able to have a lot of different products, hats, backpacks, jackets, sweaters, sweatsuits. So many a range of products. And now we're at Northtown Mall at Bread Pop-Up Shop. It's a collective business space where you have 9 other business owners with their merchandise, and everybody have their own section. So it's a start. It's a start to the to a vision, and the goal is to utilize this to get them excited about doing something positive, getting them busy, getting them off the streets. The more, the youth are busy doing something that they enjoy, that gives them a sense of purpose, the least likely that they want to be involved in drug activities or just hanging out on the corner or just, hanging with a clique, or a gang. We have to keep them busy on positive things, reassuring them, giving them positive reassurance and positive activities to do along with them, to kind of teach them the path.
How has the response been from the youth in providing hope through opportunity, and what kind of impact have you seen in the community?
Man, the youth, I don't know. I can't put it in words. They got to talk for themselves, but man, they're eating it up alive. It's a great opportunity for them to, just be creative, just even in creating the logo, the slogan, creating the look of the brand. So the goal is for them to be able to run this brand by themselves. So we have a youth advisory board that shares different duties and tasks, and they're still training, but we wanted them to be very versed in their role to where, just with me overseeing and another mentor, they can be able to run the whole business on their own. It's a model that we adapted from the Green Garden Bakery. It's some youth in Heritage Park that really fascinated me when we were doing our Stop Youth Violence event, and we partnered with them. But and we may partner with them again. But the goal is to teach the boys how to run this business through our youth advisory board, sharing different tasks and duties. So somebody could be in charge of social media, somebody can be in charge of product control, shipping and handling, somebody could be in charge of budgeting, somebody or financing, somebody can be in charge. So we can have our public relations person. So that's the goal that we want to do, to be able to have a working board that can honestly make decisions and make decisions, marketing and business decisions for the brand. That gives them the hands-on skill on how to be entrepreneurs and run this business. A lot of these drug dealers out here, these young boys is out here trying to sell drugs. Basically, a drug dealer is just is an entrepreneur. It is an entrepreneur. You're self-employed. You're self-employed. And they know how I feel about that. The average drug dealer is probably making about, less than a McDonald's salary now, because, probably making about 20 grand a year. So you're taking that risk of your life and your freedom just to have freedom of time. Either you want freedom of time or you're lazy and you don't want to work. So what we do, we find a solution for all of that. We find a solution. We want to implement this youth social enterprise, not only with just honor roll athletic and fashion, but we want to start a print shop so we can be able to print our own material ourselves, and then that would create another 10 or 20 jobs for the youth. If we could print our own material, we could print other people's material. We also want to do the same thing with a food truck, with lawn care, with automotive, whatever they're interested in. We want to do that. That gets them busy. That gets them off the streets. Those who want to be entrepreneur, they can learn how to run the enterprise. Those who want to just work and, and got great work ethics and just want to be a part of something and make some money and make a career, they can be the ones that are working to keep, to hold up the brand, the customer service, and etc. And then, all of these 15% of the proceeds are going back to our youth empowerment initiative, which is, it could be right now for honor roll athletics. We want to do a scholarship program where we're doing little small scholarship grants to youth. They don't necessarily have to be athletes. And then we also want to start a tutoring program where we're getting some tutoring for, young people, especially youth athletes that are struggling academics. So our slogan is great in the game, better at the books. We came up with this slogan together. I remember we was at a fundraiser at Cubs of Egg and Grocery. It was probably about 4:15. It was around the end of the day because we're there till 6, and it was slow. And then I had about 6, 7 boys around the table with me as we planned this thing. I even got the sheet that we doodled on, still have that, and we'll frame it one day. But it's such a, for me, it's such a breathtaking experience. And when you take your time, because I'm a single father of 2, but my goal was not only just to be in my 2 children's lives, because I felt like it was a disservice if all I did was just invest in my 2 children and my 4 walls, because my children have to go outside and get on the bus with little Johnny. They got to be in math class or Fayed with Christopher. They got to play on the basketball team with Ron. So if I'm not impacting the lives of those young men without fathers, I'm doing my children a disservice. So that's the whole, that was what drove me. And most of these boys grew up with my kids, because I was always the dad that came to the school all the time, and the boys would just gravitate to me. I was always the dad that would work and do a leadership, volunteer my time and do a social fathers program with the kids, especially some of them that was misbehaving. That was me. I was that dad. So it was very easy to find the boys. They were already there. I didn't have to go far. They grew up with me. And some of these young men are young men now. Some of them are taller than me. They're young adults. And it's so amazing to see them grow and become just respectful, awesome, talented, creative, man, they're just some great young men. And I'm so humbled and so filled with just joy and compassion to be able to have these young men in my life. And I think having a mentor and becoming a mentor is a very enriched, beautiful thing, because I've had both sides of it. I've been a mentee and I'm a mentor, and it's been very enriching in my life, because not only am I giving these young men purpose and hope and values in their lives, but it helps keep me going, because there are times, we all want to give up, throw in the towel. We all are bombarding with stress, bills, just the hecticness of life. What keeps us going? What keeps us going? Yes, my children keep me going, but now it's a bigger, broader vision than just my children, because we got other young people that I'm connected to in the community I'm connected to, and it's the best experience in my life.
An inspiration, Charles. We're going to start with have some questions from the community. One from Jennifer Taylor. How can we in the community support your work?
Well, I have mentored 50 boys within the last 7 years, roughly about 50 or so. And we do a group mentorship. So it's not necessarily one-on-one. It's a group mentorship where you got, where we're doing group activities. We do group activities. We do things like our youth. We have our youth social enterprise, of course, but we do our youth empowerment trainings. It's a leadership and character building group where we focus on teaching them mental conditioning. So we teach them about the mind, we creating thinkers. So we do meditation. We teach them about meditation, visualization, affirmation, self-talk, positive self-talk. We teach them about energy and focus. We teach them about how to will their passion and purpose into existence when we discover it. And then we do, outings and events with them to collaborative. The reason why we do a group mentorship, because it's a brotherhood. And remember when I told you, having a brotherhood or being a part of a brotherhood for a young man, especially one without a father figure, is a key important thing. This is why gangs and cliques and crews are very successful. This is why, it's successful for, older guy to recruit young men, to do negative activity, because now they belong to something. They belong to something bigger than themselves. They're part of a brotherhood, a family. They're part of people that care for them. And this is what we provide with our mentorship program, our community engagement mentorship program. So the best way that you can help is with resources. I have to turn down mothers all the time. All the time I have to turn down mothers because of lack of resources. 50 kids, we could have mentored about 200 by now if we had, in 7 years, if we had the proper leadership resources. Now, we have 50 boys. None of them are in any cliques or gangs. None of them, most of them are working. None of them, we've only had 2 that has ever been arrested. And that was because they were with the wrong crowd, got involved in some people shoplifting. So out of 50 boys in the inner city, on the north side, they're from families that are involved in this stuff. You know what I'm saying? They're living in the zone. In the zone. I live over north. These boys are in the zone. They around it every which way they turn. It's not hard for them to get involved, but they haven't. And I know why. It's because they have somebody, just like I had someone that I did not want to disappoint. Someone that gave me validation. Someone that I trusted. Someone that I knew sincerely cared for me. That's what we give to these young men. And that's why I believe it has helped them to blossom to the men that they are today, despite all this stuff that's going on around them, all the drugs, the gangs, the violence that is going on around them. I'm not there with them 24/7, 365. So it's nothing, I can't stop them from doing everything. They have something bigger than themselves to work for. So what we need resources. We need an admin. I have to do most of the administrative work and work a full-time job. I work as a youth violence prevention specialist for North Memorial and Hennepin County Medical Center. Whenever a young person or, gets shot, stabbed, or assaulted, I'm there. I'm going into the ER. So I'm on both sides. I'm on the preventative side, of it, working with my organization, and I'm on the intervention side of it. So working with my job. So, we need resources. We need an administrative assistant. We need volunteer coordinators. We need funding. We need a grant writer. We need funding. We need somebody, a videographer that can get what we're doing documented on footage. We need resources and funding to be viable and continue helping the community. Because like I said, our track record proves 50 young men, none of them are in the gangs. We have boys as old as up to 22, 23 years old. These young men, we got them when they were young and we raised them up. And anytime we did anything, an activity, a barbecue, basketball, whatever, an outing, the Timberwolves game, we going as a group. We doing it together. Bowling, we going on outings. This gave us the time to be able to be able to get to know them, understand them, take time with them. You got to take time with young people. If people is wondering, how can we reach the youth? Take time with them and do something that they like. Just take time with them, try to get to know them and, and get involved and just get to know what they like and experience it. And then and that's all they're looking for, someone to validate them. So we need more funding to have more mentors. We need more funding to have an admin, a volunteer coordinator. We need resources. So if you want to help what we're doing for our youth and the youth in North Minneapolis, we need funding and we need resources and volunteers. Yes.
That was the next question from the community, from Jordan. Jordan Peacock, is there a way to get involved as a mentor?
Yeah, so we do group mentorship, and being that and so we do outings and activities together. So yeah, there's always a way. We're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for men who would like to mentor. So being that most of these boys, are Black and brown boys, they're more receptive to see men, positive male figures, that look like them. So that doesn't exclude if you're not, African American or, Hispanic or whatever, from being a part of what we do. But for a lot of the, activities and stuff like that, the outings and the giveaways and the stuff like that, we encourage, everybody that would like to volunteer and help to be a part of it. But we want mentors that kind of, these young men could see themselves through, could look and see themselves. So it's only because a youth told me a young lady. This was a young lady that told me out of her own mouth. She said, this was very long ago. She's a grown woman now, and she has children, and she's doing very well. And you know, she's engaged to her baby father. But this is really was important. This young lady told me, and I realized that we had to duplicate more. Just as is, it's very vital for the community to see positive Black men in the community, because it's so easy to look and see our Black men involved in negativity, wasting their time hanging around on the corners, drinking, smoking. You know what I'm saying? We see that just walking down the street on Broadway, right? Or any major city street, urban city street ghetto. So what we wanted to do with Brothers in Power is to be visual to our women and children, to the community, so that they can see positive male role models and figures. So it's good for them to be around positive Black male role models and figures, and you know, and things of that. So this young lady, I remember years ago, my son was like 9 months or so, and I was coming into the house at that time. Now, I grew up with her father. Her father had been incarcerated for, he had been incarcerated at that time for about 8 years or so. He was in and out of the penitentiary system when she was growing up. And she told me, she said, now this is from a young lady without a father. She didn't have a father figure to a positive role model to look up to see, to visualize. And we need to visualize. We have to see things for it to click in our subconscious mind, and for it to become real, for it to enter our heart, to get into our system, for us to be like, you know what? There is another way out. I saw a guy before. I saw those guys give, I seen that before. So I know I don't have to just settle for this. So the neighborhood I was in at that time, you know, we usually, you know, summertime had a lot of guys hanging out, you know, all day, shooting dice, drinking, smoking. Most of these guys I grew up with, you know, I knew, you know, and stuff like that. So when I became a father, I made sure that I was going to leave that type of activity. And I had a lot of, unlike most people, I had a lot of support from the people that was in my neighborhood and in my, that I hung out with, because, you know, they knew like, yo, if you could really change, then we all have a hope. They felt like if you could change, we all have a hope. So we gonna support your change, man. We want you to change. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you want to do, then you know, go ahead, man. You know what I'm saying? So I remember going to work, coming home, playing outside with my son, taking him bike riding, whatever. Well, he was too young at the time to go bike riding, but we were just playing outside. One day she stopped me. She said, I see you. I see you all the time. And I see them though. But I see you. You go to work, you come home, you spend time with your son. You know, I see you. But she did mention that she see them. So she like, they got kids. They got homes, they got family. Why are they just spending all their time out here? Young girl, probably about 10 years old. She's a grown woman now. But because she was able to see one positive male figure that looked like her, I believe that helped her today to pick the right man that she wanted to be with, to not only settle for becoming a baby mother, but, you know, somebody's fiance and future wife, you know, to be a responsible young lady that she is today. You know, her father wasn't in her life. She didn't see that. She didn't see that when she came out the doors in her community, but she saw that through me. I was that one person, by God's grace, he allowed me to be that person that she was able to see. So, and that's what we want to do for the community and these youth. So yes, if you're not an African-American or, you know, Hispanic male, you know, you can be involved. you know, in a lot of outreach and youth activities, but some of our group mentorship that we do, like our intimate group mentorship that we do, and youth empowerment groups and stuff like that. We just encourage, you know, men that these young men can relate to.
In terms of, you know, bridging that divide, you know, you think, you know, North Minneapolis, South Minneapolis, you know, establishing trust. How do you think that's possible? You know, it's challenging, but what
Relationship. Relationship is the key. Relationship. It's all about relationship. Relationship is key. You have to establish trust in a marriage, or when you're courting somebody. You had to, before you got married, you courted, you dated, and you got to know the person, and you had things that was, you know, in common, and you build on those things, and you learn about this person. And it's all about building relationship. Everything is about relationship, and we're humans, we're relationable people. You know what I'm saying? Is, you know, it's all about the connections and relationships that we have. So yes, I believe that anything can be done when it's done with a pure heart, when it's done with love, when it's done with understanding, empathy, and when it's done with just, you know, building a true relationship. So yes, I do agree, because if you care about what I care about, then we have a common ground and common understanding. And if it's building the community, building all people, I mean, I think mentorship is good for, I think this is a good thing for all. It's just that, you know, in my community, what I deal with is young Black men, you know, so that, you know, so I could only speak into what I'm used to, what I grew up with, and what I can understand, and how I understand these young men from being in the community. So I feel like, you know, relationship is key. And that's how we have been successful with what we do with the young men, and even with the family, and with our partners. You know, even though we're from different backgrounds and sometimes different races, but it's all about, if you care about people, you can't be in this world and not give this. When God has placed us on this world to be a blessing to somebody, if he's giving you anything, it is your duty to give that in return, or teach somebody how to get it. And that's the true essence of life. It don't matter what you gain in this world. You could be a billionaire. If you're not doing for others and teaching them how to do for themselves, then you're not living the true life experience. And your wealth and you're really poor. You know, this summer, I realized that I was one of the most wealthiest men in Minnesota. And I'm not talking about financially, at least not yet. But all the people that came out to volunteer at our food giveaway when we fed 25,000 meals through the spring and summer, through the COVID. We started in April, and then we ended in September. We fed 25,000 meals. And I just looked around me at the volunteers that were risking their life during a pandemic, their health, putting their health on the line to come and serve the community, volunteering. That's when I realized that's when I was so humbled, and I realized that, wow, how rich I was, because they're doing this because this is something that is bigger than just Charles. This is something they all line up with my beliefs in giving back. And it's the same way with the youth. It's the same way if we're from different sides of the city. At the end of the day, it's about giving back. Giving back. And sometimes you can't wait until you got everything you want to give back. I realized that I overcome a lot of barriers in my life. I dealt with a lot of mental issues. I dealt with a lot of trauma. I dealt with a lot of resentment, bitterness, hatred. I had so much hate inside of me as a young man. I had so much hate and anger and resentment. So it was easy to strike on other people. It's easy to shoot and be out. It's easy for these young men to be out here shooting each other. It's easy. They're all hurting. They're all broken. I know them. I was them. I know them so well. I look in through them when I look at them. Because that was me. I hated my own self. And the only thing that I could find refuge in was my other friends that felt the same way that I felt. So it's all about relationship and giving back. This world is broken, not just with our youth, but our system, with the justice system. And it's all about relationship. We have to come outside of our comfort zone and build relationship and get to understand each other and get to understand each other's culture and get to understand each other's side of town. You get to understand how we think. You know, we have to come outside of our comfort zone and get to understand and think, and we have to be selfless. We're so selfish and all we think about is ourselves. And you can't just think about yourself, because the very same thing that you're closed-minded to will come and affect and shake your own reality and your own existence because of selfishness. So, and that was the same value system on why we started the mentorship program. You know, me and other dads wanted to impact other kids that didn't have fathers, because we were fatherless, and we knew how much resentment and from the neglection from a young man who every young man has a deep desire and urge to be accepted by another male figure, a father figure. We have that natural desire to be accepted. It's just how we was wired. And when you don't have that, you feel abandoned, you feel rejected, you don't feel like you belong, and you have to find other people to associate with, even if it's negative, especially if it's negative, to find your journey. And we decided, no, we're not just going to be fathers to our kids. No, we're going to be fathers to the fatherless too. We're going to be fathers. Most of the boys in the organization, they call me Uncle Charles or Uncle Caine. They call me Uncle because it's the uncle system. The next best thing to being a young man, not having a father, is an uncle. Having a good, reliable, dependable, loving, caring uncle that's going to be fair, but going to be solid with you. Having an uncle that can understand you, that's going to take up some time. That you know, having an uncle that you trust. So it's about the uncle system, you know, giving these boys something, the accountability, giving, you know, young people have to have key things. All people, especially young people. And why I say young people, because sometimes, you know, young people are the ones, the adolescents are the ones that are going to shake up the community and rage hell in the community if they're not getting the things that they want, right? So it's an African proverb that says, if the youth does not feel the love of the village, they will burn it down just to feel its warmth. So we want to give those young people the love and the support. And the thing about it, me being a single father makes it very easy to do, because all the boys that are in the program now are boys that either are boys that play ball with my kids that I've either trained or coached before, or, you know, they went to school with them, or they're in the neighborhood, they lived in the neighborhood, or just, you know, just kids that, and then they have friends that they bring over, and they come over to my house, and they all get treated the same. They all get the same lessons. One of my biggest quotes that they love so much is, "A man don't work, a man don't eat." And that's just a principle that, and a value system that we install in them. And it's basically is, if you want to come in this house and enjoy the things about this house, watching TV, eating chips, eating popcorn, eating chickens and chicken wings and fried, you know, this and that. You want me to cook for you and buy pizza and all that, you're gonna have to help clean. This principle could be applied at their own home. This principle could be applied with their parents. Man don't work, man don't eat. Now we know they're young boys now, but soon they'll be men before they can even realize it. And we want to install in the principle of good work ethics inside of them, that if you want something in life, you have to work hard to get it.
Charles, you're on mute. Hit mute there.
Or they dead. So,
You know, we only have a few more minutes, Charles. I just want to touch on the point you raised about creating a village. You know, I think you're doing a great job of building a village and bringing back that village mentality. One thing at LHENA we're focused on, you know, as an initiative is to, you know, support businesses and help increase workforce development, and really with a focus on how we can bring communities together. That's why it's great to have you joining us for this call. You know, you're working in North Minneapolis, we're here in Southwest Minneapolis, and, you know, we become friends over the last couple of months, and we want to build on this relationship and see how we can support, you know, more youth. They need more opportunity, and find ways that we can, you know, create partnerships with South and North Minneapolis, so that, you know, this program you're doing with Target this Friday, you know, this career training workshop is great. You know, do more of that to show youth what is possible, you know, in a positive way. You know, it doesn't have to always be destructive, you know, but there is ways, you know, but they need to see hope, and they need to see practical ways that they can implement, you know, practical things. And so that's what we're looking to do. And so we're looking to build on this and figure out ways that we can bring more people into this, you know, so that we can connect more people, because there's a lot of people in South Minneapolis, there's a lot of people in North Minneapolis that don't know each other. And how can we help people get to know each other, build trust, and start sharing resources so that we can start, you know, making a bigger difference in the city. That's the goal of these talks. You know, we want to put this talk into action and take this talk. You know, you had a lot of great words here tonight, and then figure out next step is how can we start implementing what you talked about, the resources you need, how can we help you get them? And so that's, you know, what we want to do. And I want to thank you for being a part of this. I want to give you the last word before we close it out. You know, if you have any final things you want to say, but again, thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning this Friday, the work skills training, career skills training with Target Corporation. We have Target corporate leaders coming in, 20 of them, and it's going to be a great opportunity. We also want to do the same thing. We're talking and planning something like that with North Memorial Medical Center to have something like that. But yeah, I'm grateful, you know, for Laurie Hill East, you know, this partnership and how I met you guys, and just, you know, us building this relationship and kind of bringing the city together, because I think that's very important, is bringing the city together. Because one, there's parts of the city that has, you know, there's people in the city that have, there's people in the city that don't have. So, but then those who don't have other things too, that giftings, talents, abilities, and potential. So, you know, just using what we have, you know, some have money, some have ideas, some have expertise in different ways, knowledge, or, but using what we have, and bringing it to the table and kind of using it as a collective thing, a collective body, to make a change, I think is a wonderful thing. So I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate everything that you guys have done for us. I appreciate the fundraiser with the GoFundMe. It reached to $5,000, and that has, and let me tell you, that's been a major blessing to us, because what is actually done is the vision that we had with Honor Athletics, the Honor Athletics vision, the vision that we came up with these boys, this youth social enterprise. This fundraiser, the $5,000 that was raised, Laurie Hill East helped raised, help our vision really continue to move further, because being able to be at that space at Northtown Mall and being able to have the boys there has been very enriching and incredible. And like I said, it starts small, but the vision is to actually our vision is a gigantic vision. These young people have major, big, gigantic visions, and we cannot put it in a box. We got to let them, give them room to have whatever the biggest imagination as they can, and kind of guide that a little bit, and then nurture and support that. So these young people have a major vision for Honor Athletics and the youth social enterprise, and you guys really helped us to be able to do that at another level at Bread Pop-Up Shop in Northtown Mall. So very grateful, very grateful.
Happy to help, Charles. And, that's what LHENA is all about, neighbors helping neighbors. And this past year has been a great example of that, all the great work that LHENA is doing. They have a food share program. They had a grant program for small business to help after the pandemic and civil unrest. And our partnership here with Brothers in Power is another example of that. We want to continue to build on this partnership and help it grow stronger. Want to help, as many people as we can, to bring people together. As Charles stated, there is division in the city right now, but I think there's a lot of people who want to unify the city and want to bring those people together to help give hope to the people who don't have hope right now, that are struggling or that don't see a way out of destructive behavior, because there is a path forward that is positive, and we can start building and rebuilding and making this city great again. And that's what it's all about. This is what this talk is about. That's what this neighborhood associate, that's what Charles' work is about. And that's why we're all here. And I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. This was a great conversation, and I appreciate all of your time. And I thank you, Charles, and for taking the time to be with us tonight. I want to thank Maria and 7th Generation Games for sponsoring this. That's where the resources come. The money that they gave, half of it went to Brothers in Power, the other half went to LHENA. And that's how things get done, because it takes money to make things happen. And we want to start growing more money so that we can make more things happen. So thank you all, and have a nice night. We'll be in touch. See you
Okay.
all.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Charles.
Thanks for having me. All right. Have a good one.
You too.